Hey guys, Jay here, welcome to Eons of Battle, and today I'm going to show you how to use the Vallejo Liquid Gold range. These are the materials I'll be using. Now the main difference between these Vallejo Liquid Gold paints and the acrylic paints is that you have to use alcohol to thin these paints and to clean your brushes. Make sure to use a dedicated brush for this because you can't really go back and forth using water to clean the brush and to use the alcohol to clean the brush because you may end up contaminating your paint. So I prepared myself a little bit of 96% rubbing alcohol. I poured myself a little bit in a small container to use as a brush cleaning station, and then I applied a little bit to my palette so that I can use it to thin my brush as I'm working. Now the paint goes on the model in the same way as any acrylic paint would, but I find that it has a little bit of a different drying time and a different feel, and the way it stays on the brush and the way it dries is something you're pretty much just going to have to learn through experience. It isn't too challenging, but it definitely has a different feel than an acrylic paint. Now I found that the Vallejo Silver covered very, very nicely. Mostly went on in one coat. And then to clean my brush in between paint applications, I rinsed it in the mineral spirits, and then I used a paper towel to reshape my brush, and then I just loaded up a little bit more paint, and I periodically used the thinner to help water it down. Now you have to really make sure that you wipe off all of the mineral spirits so that you don't end up overwatering the paint, and then the application will become a little bit harder to do. Once I had all of the silver done on this work, I went ahead and I applied a little bit of copper. Now I found that the Vallejo liquid copper was a little bit thinner than the silver, and so I ended up having to do 2 or 3 coats to get a good coverage, but the paint goes on very thin. I didn't find the paint getting clumpy or leaving any brushstrokes behind. While I was applying the paint, I found that the copper may have smaller pigments because it wasn't covering as well, but it also wasn't drying as quickly as on my brush. Once I had all the metal down, I used some Games Workshop Nuln Oil. Now these metal effects dry very, very glossy and shiny, and so the mat really likes to pull into the crevices and cracks of the model. So I found that these washes actually went on to the metallic effect a little bit better than a typical acrylic paint. Once the wash was dry, I went back with a little bit of the Vallejo Silver just to highlight these copper areas, and I found that the silver was a very, very nice highlight color for the copper. I would say that these colors would work very, very well, especially for any models that require a very, very shiny finish, like an Adeptus Custodes or a Sister of Silence. They might be a bit too shiny or a little too bright for something like a Chaos or an Orc. Also, the process is a little bit tricky to use them, so I would say that it'd be a little bit time consuming to use them on some rank and file or some horde-based armies, like Orcs or Genestealer Cult. But I think that these paints would work really, really nicely for smaller model count armies, like Grey Knights or Sisters of Silence. Overall, I really, really like these paints, and I can't wait to get more opportunities to use them. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video. You can leave a comment if you have any other ideas or techniques you'd like to see us do. You can follow us on Facebook at EOB Fans, and you can follow us on Twitter at EonsOfBattle. Thanks for watching.